Hello there, Year 7. We are going to continue our special America studies. And today's topic will be found on page 61 and 62 in your textbook. So please have a look at that. And we are going to start checking the important parts by using maps and some pictures. So please have a look at South America. The borders are really clear. In the east, the Atlantic Ocean; in the west, the Pacific Ocean can be found there. Some of the names are really nice speaking names. Venezuela, for instance, one of the countries is like Little Venice, really similar seashore with the inlets and gulfs to the Italian Venice. So this is why the first people who went there named the area like that. Or Colombia is named after Cristoforo Columbus. Ecuador means equator. No small wonder, the equator just goes there right across that area. Or Argentina has a special name as well because of the silver people could see here on the natives. But the silver was actually from a much more distant area of the Andes Mountains, but still they named after Argentina, named the area after silver. Or the capital city here, Buenos Aires, good air. Or Rio de Janeiro, because the first explorers thought that actually Rio was basically a river, but actually that's just a Gulf area there, and they went there in January. So this is why they call it Janeiro. Janeiro means January and Rio means river, but now we know that it's just a special Gulf there and not a river. Or Brazil is named after the special wood, the special tree, which was used for coloring textiles and fabrics red. So can you see lots of special names in the region? One of them is still important, the Andes Mountains, which can be found all over the place in the west, part of the Pacific mountain range system, because the Pacific plate just goes under the continental plate, this kind of humid sedimentary rock which goes into the deep, starts or induces lots of volcanic activities. The biggest, tallest volcano can be found here in the region, and lots of volcanic stones like andesite, and the mountain has that name. So actually the stone is named after this mountain range because there's a huge amount of that stone here in the region. So we mentioned some important things now. So two big ancient rock shields lie in the northern and eastern part of South America, the Guyana and the Brazilian mountains. The southern part of the Pacific mountain range system, the Andes, all along as a young folded mountain range, and this stretches all along the place. It's longer than 7,000 kilometers. The Andes are the world's longest mountain range this way. So we could see quite a lot of things here. Many of the peaks are over 6,000 meters. The mountains were formed where when the two plates, which I mentioned earlier, collided. Not just volcanic activity, but also lots of earthquakes are typical in the region. The highest Andean peak is almost 7,000 meters. It's called Aconcagua, but the tallest volcano is Hoyos del Salado. So these are two different mountains. Then let's continue our journey. So this is what you can see from an airplane, the nice Andes ranges with steep mountains and not too many mild slopes. They are rather steep as it's a young folded mountain range, and sharp ridges everywhere and snow coverage. This is the andesite stone which I mentioned earlier. Hoyos del Salado, the tallest volcano actually in the whole world, so it's the biggest volcano the world over. And the Amazon basin is the next area, which is basically a huge plain between the Brazilian, oh, this is an image from an airplane, and the next one is the Paraná plain between the Brazilian mountains and the Andes. And this is an image of the area named after the Paraná River. And this is a rather picturesque landscape, the land called Patagonia. It's a huge, dry and windswept plateau of land. Very nice ridges and peaks. This is the southernmost part of South America. And the area also has glaciers. So if we go back, you can just have a look at this part of the land. So this southernmost part is Patagonia. Yeah. So where were we? We just stopped here. And now please have a look at the climate. The climate of the continent is really determined by the equator. Yeah. So really rainy, humid and hot along the equator. So you can find rainforests in the region. The Amazon rainforest is slightly bit different from rainforests in Africa. There are really many insects and dangerous creatures living there. This is just one little village alongside the river. Many people don't know this, but the river Amazon, especially here at the mouth, is so wide that from one bank you can't see the other one. Lots of water in it. The water content is like over 100,000 cubic meters per second. The Danube has like 2,000. So this is how you can imagine the difference between the two. The Danube 2,000 cubic meters per second. This one more than 100,000. So let's continue with the climate. In the tropical zone lie the Guyana and Brazilian mountains, savanna climate all over the place here. Amazonia is the land of the equatorial climate. We mentioned that. Then let's see the subtropical monsoon areas here alongside the seashore. And on the other side, you can even find these tiny pieces of land here, colored in orange, is Mediterranean region. And then the yellow one is tropical desert all along the seashore. Really dry desert area along the ocean, which is rather strange that there's a desert right next to a huge body of water. Atacama Desert is a famous area here. In the temperate zone, the Paraná Plain, this kind of greenish area, has continental climate. And the Andes have a major effect on the water of South America. We need to know that. Warm, wet winds from the Atlantic rise up on the eastern slopes. As they rise, they cool and the water in them falls as rain. On the dry western slope, the weather conditions are completely different. Here the winds pass over the cold Humboldt current as they blow in from the sea. This causes them to cool and form a bank of fog. So really foggy area, still can be dry at certain parts here. You can find this image in the book. So this shows really nicely and well the different climate zones. You can see the deserts, the rainforest areas, savannas, and the continental climate zones as well. The main rivers, the Amazon River, the world's largest rainforest, grows in the vast basin of the Amazon, and this is the longest river of South America. I told you certain facts about it. It's more than 6,000 kilometers long, and it carries more water than any other river on Earth. The river discharges so much water into the ocean that the water is still brackish for 180 kilometers. Okay, then the Orinoco River, here in the north, is the next one. At its mouth, the river forms a wide delta that branches off into hundreds of rivers and waterways. Before it reaches the Atlantic Ocean, it flows through a swampy forest. These are so big rivers that their sediments or deposits can be seen from space, even under the ocean. There are huge alluvial fans built up. An alluvial fan is hordalékkúp. Basically, that is the tiny particles journeying all along the river and finally ending up in the ocean. The Paraná River is the next one. You can find it right here. It's a really important waterway linking the inland cities of Argentina and Paraguay. And there are really big dam systems here along the river. The biggest one is Itaipu, so it's basically a hydroelectric plant. And Lake Titicaca is famous because it is lying over 3,000 meters, almost 4,000 meters high above sea level. It's the world's highest lake where you can travel by ships. And it stretches across the border into Bolivia, and for thousands of years native people have fished its waters. And there's a group of people, the Yurus, live by the lake in floating villages built on huge rafts made from reeds. You can see an image of that. They live like this. Yeah. So this is Lake Titicaca here. Okay, so now you can start working in your workbook. I will tell you the page number. Please look at page 59 and name all the important features here. Task 1. And then task 3 is important as well. And then name the climates, rivers and lakes shown on the map below, page 60, task 5. So could you please do this task as well? And thank you very much for your attention. Keep up good work. Bye-bye.